Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here, and welcome to episode 38 of Defining Duke Ultimate, a Defining Duke supplement. As always, I'm joined by the fitted cap himself, Lord Cognito.
No doubt your boy need a cut. You look a little scruffed today, but whenever y'all see this, your boy need a cut.
I feel you. Yeah, I'm having one of those things where I'm so happy I cut my hair when I did because, make a long story short, stayed over at my girlfriend's house last night. Mm-hmm. I got some surgery on my arm, right? So I got to have this weird plastic thing over my whole arm when I take a shower. So I get up this morning like, all right, time to shower. And I don't have the plastic thing to cover my stitches up. I'm like, oh no. So if my hair was longer, I'd be looking super greasy right now, real nasty. But we're good. We're good.
No, that's where that efficiency, that's where that young Ryan comes in.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, we got the Ryan cut. And so I would be like you. I'd be wearing a hat today probably if my hair was longer. So
absolutely. You know the vibes.
That. Yeah, but I know on Wednesday, you'll show up with a fresh cut. Like
you already know. You already know.
I know the routine. Yeah. Anyway, welcome one, welcome all. Episode 38 of Defining Duke Ultimate. We're getting up there when you really take a look at it. It's a higher number. So with that, we wanted to talk about something that felt quite fitting this week. Kind of like the last thing it dropped where this snowballed, continued to build. And you may look at this episode and go, come on, guys, really? Like, Xbox is doing so well. But as we sat down together before this recording and started to stitch together a list, we went, there's actually been a lot that Xbox has miscommunicated. We want to get into that today.
Yes.
So unless there's anything you want to tap onto, let's begin, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into it because it's like, I got to plug a little bit. It's so fitting that we did this because, recently on ILP, we just had the new executive director of communications, Seth Chazelle, and tremendous history. If any, again, I don't try to plug too much, but if you can, please check that out on Iron Lord's podcast. Tremendous history. He's going to be pretty much a new hire. He's going to be there moving forward. But the timing of this couldn't have been any better for Duke because, like I told him, like we said, we're talking about now, so I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And he said, yep, I know, Cog, IOP, you guys are going to tell us if we mess up, and we respect it. So we, you got to have those heart-to-heart talks every now and then about the past and things. And we literally said, this generation, series generation, for the most part, solid.
What's up? Yeah.
But, we got some bumps along the way that we got to talk about. You know what I mean?
I know. I agree. And so while they're having a pretty strong start,
yes,
there are certain things we need to talk about that I think demand some criticism because I think it's popping up a little too frequently in what has been about a year at this point in time.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with what really made us say, all right, this is the episode. Xbox Game Studios publishing account. It's a nice Saturday. Or I'm sorry, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Got a little pep in my step because I read a tweet from their account, which has now been deleted, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Now that tweet, Cog, reads, we're excited to kick off something special tomorrow. Just give us one more day to prepare the chickens. They followed it up by saying, we call it our Fable anniversary, but that name was already taken. Now, this is coming from Xbox Game Studios Publishing. This is the account that would be about third-party studios doing stuff exclusively, if you will, for Xbox.
Yes.
Afterwards, people were reasonably, by the way, excited because one consistency you'll see throughout all of these things we're going to talk about is they come from Xbox themselves. It's not like rumor mongering their response and then everyone loses their shit. We're talking about a situation where Xbox began it. So everyone starts thinking like, ooh, what are they doing with Fable? Most of us are reasonably saying, nah, it's not going to be Playground's Fable. This is just weird timing. They got Forza coming out in just under a month. Like, why would they talk about Fable now? So it's got to be something with the old Fable games. Are they doing something with back compat on a new level? Are they doing a remaster? Maybe a remake? That'd be a really weird random announcement too. But like something's happening with Fable. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Couple hours later, new tweet. Sorry for any confusion. We don't have any big game news tomorrow or any info about at We Are Playground Games' upcoming Fable game. And we're like, So what were you doing then?
Exactly. I saw your tweet response.
Yes. Yeah. And I wasn't like end of the world on all of this. It's certainly not the biggest deal, but these are little, I call them death of a thousand cuts, Cog,
Yes,
right?
good point,
That's
good
exactly what's happening here. None of these are going to make you lose your mind outside of probably one of them.
Right.
But what we're seeing here is a really weird faux pas from them for a series, by the way, that we have to keep in mind has been dormant for a long while.
Absolutely.
Right? We have the original studio for it shut down. Playground Games has been handed the keys to the castle. There were a number of leaks with that game. People are hungry for something with Fable.
Mhm.
And then this happens. What's your take?
Yeah, look, this one was really baffling because, again, like I said, while this announcement happens, Seth Chazelle already, ILP's still live. Seth Chazelle's already come off, the new director, he's off, and now it's just the Lords. We're just talking about the gaming news. So I'm scrolling while I just happen to be scrolling on Twitter while, like the king of somebody's talking, and everyone's hitting me up like, yo, Xbox game publishing, bro.
Yeah.
Something is about to pop. And I'm like, so I'm usually calm. I'm like, all right, let me see. Let me read the specifics. But then it's like, you read the verbiage. We're excited to kick something special off tomorrow. Just give us one more day to prepare the chicken. So I'm like, okay, at first I wasn't getting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Addict is the biggest Fable fan.
Oh, yeah. Poor
Addict.
Addict.
Bro, let me tell you how a real Addict keep it with Fable. Like Addict, with E3 2018, everyone told him, yo, Fable gonna be there. Fable gonna be there. And you could see it's hard. He's like, don't play with me. I've been burnt. He's like, everyone's telling him. And we go through that whole show, and there was no Fable at that show.
Yeah.
And we do a live reaction outside of the Microsoft Theater. And the pain in this man, boy,
you can see him hurting.
He was hurt. And I was like, but he's right. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm sitting there and then I see Addict getting excited while we're live yesterday. And he's like, hold on. And I'm like, you think it is? He said, bro, it's got to be Fable. And then we see the chicken emoji. Then we see Xbox account respond to this.
Yeah, I forgot
Xbox
about that.
account. So this is where it's even more egregious. Because it's one thing if you say, okay, Xbox Game Studio Publishing, somebody's a little too excited.
Yeah.
They publish, you know what I'm saying? Good, man.
Yeah. No, I was agreeing with you. Go for it.
It's like one thing, it's one thing one get excited, but then Xbox, I'm like, something's about to go. It reminded me of MLB The Show because I believe on one of the accounts and then the MLB account or the Game Pass, it was like a combination of accounts all playing this promotional game. Like they don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then the next subsequent tweet, Xbox Game Studio Publishing, we call it our Fable anniversary, literally spelling it out.
Yeah.
But that name was already taken. Now you done set off our audience.
Right. You're like, oh, it's got to be a collection. Something's going on with Fable to celebrate, right?
Yeah,
the Lost Chapter anniversary's coming up.
Right. Remaster Fable 1, maybe. Something is happening. They are ready to talk. And then ILP ends. I see your tweet. The Twitter is going crazy, bro. This went on for a couple of hours. Because if ILP was live, let's say around this, I'm going to guess say it happened around 2 p.m. Eastern. This thing rocked from 2 p.m. Eastern. You want to say, when did we get the thing right there? 8:56 p.m. So to about 9 p.m. So it was about a 7-hour window. This tweet is up.
Yeah.
7 hours. Yeah. You let this rock. So I'm like, okay. And then we see, sorry for the confusion.
About that.
We don't have any big news tomorrow or any info about We Are Playground upcoming Fable game. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, what are you guys announcing then?
What were we doing? What were we doing? And I'm going to give it to you, Maddie. It's just, this is one of those moments where it's like, I got to be honest. It's like, we're Mets fans, right? It's like these things only happen to the Mets, right? So it's like it feels like this again. It's like, why Xbox? Like, why is this happening to you? Like, I don't I've had this conversation with other people, right? And it's just like Rand is one of the people I've had it with. Multiple people.
Yeah, I was
Addict.
talking to Rand about this too. It's funny you
Yeah,
bring him up.
shout out to Rand. Like, 'cause, that's about that. Sometimes we need therapy. We got to talk through these things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, am I bugging? And it's just like, the thing we kind of come up with is like, could you imagine Nintendo making an announcement? Yo, we have something new for Metroid, or something new for Zelda coming. Stay tuned. And they show a little link emoji.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Sony? Yo, stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? You see the Ellie something with Last of Us, right? And then in the subsequent hours, sorry guys.
Yeah, it's not good.
It doesn't happen to no one but Xbox. And it's like, why? But I'm gonna let you go because I gotta work this out. I'm going through therapy right now.
Of course. I'm here to support you, audiences too. The way I look at it too is as we record this, we don't know what this will end up being. And I think that's interesting because we're in a little capsule where I'm of the mindset that even if this is announced and maybe it's next gen optimized versions of Fable, then you're like, that is game news. What do you mean there wasn't big game news? That is big game news, and you've sort of squashed your own announcement. But if it's nothing, that it's the point we've talked about since the start of the show, which is why did you guys say anything in the first place? And this is what happens across all of these bullet points we're going to hit on, is they effectively dig their own ditch to some extent. They can be commended for their communication across just consistently announcing stuff. But this is what happens when you get too trigger happy with your announcements. You make big deals out of, what if it's just a piece of concept art? That's the thing. Now that they've said it's not big game news, and of course, again, my expectations were in check personally. There's no way it was going to be Playground's Forza of any way, shape, or form. There's just no way.
Fable.
Yeah, just with Forza Horizon coming up, there's no way that this is going to be Fable from them.
I agree.
So I was like, okay, it's got to be the older ones, which is hype with the anniversary coming up in just under a month. We had a whole DDU on that. Just it felt like a stars aligned moment. That's where it's like, again, just they look very foolish and they do it to themselves.
Yeah.
So with Fable, that was like, as we said, the real spark plug to all this, where we went, all right, I think there's been enough miscommunications where we just have to sit down, talk through the process of each of these and kind of highlight to the audience, like they are messing up and they need to be better here.
Yeah, this is self-inflicted. And that seems to be the theme here. And the only thing, again, I just want to say one last point before we move on from this one, is that, when I read the statement, we don't have any big game news tomorrow. Like, I always try to put myself in, okay, why then did it happen? Why did this snafu happen? And the only thing I can think of at this time is there is definitely some sort of news with Fable that is said, you don't make these tweets by accident. Yeah. This is not a mistake. Like, someone was too quick on the trigger, right? Someone then probably had to pull them in and say, yo, not this week, maybe, next week, or, so someone got too excited. But the reason why it's just really bad is you had the two subsequent tweets. Then you had the Xbox account. So the Xbox account to me is the cosign of this. Because let's be real, Xbox.
It's like a social movement. Like it was a team.
It's like, it feels like a coordinated effort. So that means two entities made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the part that, again, like I said, shout out to Seth. You got to get on these boys. I don't know I don't know who's responsible for it. But at the end of the day, these things have to be fixed. You can't have these type of snafus. And we got to see better. We got to see better. We just got to be honest with you guys on that.
Agreed. So we don't want to harp on just Fable for this whole show because there's certainly more to be talked about. That's why we got this full episode.
Absolutely.
Next one's probably more iconic for people, but it's one that we just cannot forget. It has been, in my opinion, so impactful that before every showcase, you have an Aaron Greenberg tweet kind of accompanying it going, here's what to expect. That's the Xbox 2020 third-party gameplay showcase where there was no gameplay outside of Scarlet Nexus. And I know this one's been talked about to death, so we probably won't sit on it too long. But this was iconic, right? This was a moment where you literally put in your showcase you were going to have gameplay and it was all CGI. What? That's like YouTuber clickbait. That's like that's what's happening here. And you're a big corporation. I don't get it. It either was a desperation for attention. I just don't know how this is overlooked. Like there's a clear difference in the production, the capture of CGI versus gameplay. And that only one game met that criteria. I don't know how they came to this name, but it was a pure example of Xbox mismarketing things.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it out the park with the description. I mean, this one, the sad thing about this one is just that I really love that show, Maddie. Like,
Mm.
all things aside, I know they got killed for lack of gameplay because the majority of it was CGI trailers and stuff, right? But there was so many things that I was excited for in that show. And I'm like, wow, if it would have been just advertised correctly, right?
Hmm.
And like you said it best, as a result of that show, we now get expectation tweets for all their shows prior, like I mean, post this. So
Hmm.
that's the thing, and it's just like again, you have to be clear, you have to be concise. The Xbox community, just not the Xbox community, the gaming community is one that when you put anything out, we are going to run with this. We are going to say, "Yo, you said gameplay, you said this, expect this, or whatever, whatever." And again, it just didn't hit the mark in that respect. And at the end of the day, now every Xbox show prior has now said, hey, just one for the record, don't
Hmm.
expect this, that, and this.
Hmm.
Just for the record, smaller kind of example. Don't expect a studio announcement. I don't even remember that before E3. That's the result. And again, I don't know why these things are happening, and it's something they got to get a hold of. They got to do a better job with it. But I want to get your thoughts on that one. That was a big one.
Yeah, it's a shame because part of I think the fun of these showcases is the mystique, the allure, what's going to happen. And I'm not complaining, by the way, that Xbox does start communicating in response to this.
Right,
But number one, it's their lead marketing guy doing it, so that's
right,
one thing.
right.
Um, but the other is it kind of now that he has to do this or feels he has to do this,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of strips some of the magic out of the show, at
Yeah,
least for me.
I agree.
We'll talk about Gamescom shortly, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just every show is kind of a moment of like, all right, let's check Greeny's Twitter, and you
Mm-hmm.
see like what's going on over there. And
Right,
a lot of times it's just, yeah, this is going to be a kind of whatever show. Don't expect big announcements. And there's times where those expectations are set in what feels inaccurately because what he thought was small was kind of a bigger deal for most. Like I
mm-hmm.
thought, for example, the Tokyo Game Show, the expectations were set just about right, but for some, they thought that it was undersold.
Right,
That
right,
Tokyo Game Show was a situation where, hey, this is something that we're getting actual niche games on
right,
Xbox from
right,
Japan. You confirm you're working with 200 developers in Japan, like yada, yada,
right,
yada. Go down that whole list. That was something that was kind of significant for the brand, but they marketed it as something else out of fear of damage by making it a big deal. And that's kind of the problem is you look at PlayStation when they announced their showcase. They just said, it's 40 minutes games for PS5. They just told you what will be there. Nintendo does the same thing well. It's this direct is going to be focusing on games coming out at the end of 2021 for the Nintendo Switch. It's like, okay, that's broad enough to say, ooh, what's going to be there? What's going to happen? Is it ports, remasters? Just let the product speak for itself at the end of the day, right? It's what games they're showing that determine if the showcase is good or not. But we
preach.
have a situation with Xbox where now it's what is Greenberg going to tell us? And then how do we gauge that versus what the showcase is? And
Mm.
again, we have not even gotten into when they have a bad showcase, which
Mm-hmm.
was even marketed fairly, if you will. I was like, oh, I don't expect much. You're like, why did this exist then? So those are just some of my thoughts on it. You go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, you just sparked something in me, and
Oh, nice.
again,
There we go.
bro, yeah, let's go because it's like this is tough to say, but it's the truth. And the thing about it is this: you just nailed it. When you watch or you get an advertisement for Sony's next state of play, or Nintendo's next Nintendo Direct, think about it. We never get a tweet from them saying, "Hey guys, set your expectations low."
Mm-hmm.
Why? Be careful. Don't expect this. Don't like. I gotta be real. Because of these issues, now Xbox has to say these type of things, and I think it's a double-edged sword because one, now they want to try to be as accurate as possible, right? And we respect that. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is, you just said it, it's that the mystery and the wonder. Like, I'm never told when I watch a Sony show, yo, chill out. Don't get excited.
Mm-hmm.
No, they want you to. That's the joy. That's the like before that last, what was the name of it? They call it State of Paper, whatever that Sony's big E3 equivalent recently. I forgot what the exact
It
name
was just
of
the
it.
PlayStation Showcase. I
Yeah,
think it's what it's called.
PlayStation Code, because we know they didn't do an E3, right?
Yeah.
But the Sony base was allowed to wonder, right? They were like, yo, this could be here, that we could get Metal Gear, we could get this. Never once did anyone come that I remember, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, did any exec from Sony come down and say, look, guys, I see you guys saying, no.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a double-edged sword because they welcome it, and this to me speaks to the bigger issue, which is I think I never said this on Duke. It's my first time saying on Duke, is that I never feel like when it comes to showmanship, Nintendo and Sony have that in spades, right? There's that end of the show. Hey, one more thing.
Yeah, Xbox kind of missed that on E3, right? I remember when they did Redfall, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, but it just, I don't know. Like for Sony, I don't know if it's because they have the movie experience and that theatrical background. But I remember, bro, like they call it the E3 of Dreams. Remember that one? And it was like, was it Final
2013?
Yeah, no, not that one. Not the one that had I believe it was like God of War, Shenmue.
That was 20. I want to say that was 2013.
Was it 2013? Maybe you may be right.
Shenmue was 2013, where they hit the stage with that. Kingdom Hearts, I think, was there as well.
Bro,
I want to say it was 2013.
Grown men were in tears. They were like,
that was legendary.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, right? Because again, it's the sense of wonder. It's the sense of touching into your fan base and knowing the things they truly want. And even if it's a damn JPEG, I see Nintendo put out a Metroid Prime JPEG. We still ain't see that Metroid Prime, but they hit the moment at that time, right? And that's the thing. It's just like, again, it comes down to that theatrics, to showmanship. And you never are told from a Nintendo or a Sony show to pump the brakes on anything. You are told, you are okay to wonder. And that, I think it just hurts sometimes with them. They've got to do a better job, because thus it kind of leads into these situations, as we said with the communication. But I definitely wanted to say that, because I don't think I've ever said it on Duke, and it's something I've always felt.
No, very well said. And just the main difference maker, to really put it in a tight bottle, is when state of play sucks, it's because what they showed sucks. It's not because someone set an expectation and it delivered, or under-delivered. It's just because the product sucked. Like I don't think state of play has really had a good one yet. That's my opinion on it. They've shown a cool game or two throughout it. Like Sifu looks awesome. I think they showed 7 Remake Integrate in there at one point, if I recall correctly.
Correct.
But there hasn't been a good one, in my opinion.
I agree. There hasn't been like, oh my God, that state of play was so crazy. And
especially when you're trying to mirror the Switch Direct model. You're going to probably come up short there regardless, but they have a good format where it could create a good show. But ultimately, again, it's when the game's there that maybe you think of Nintendo's latest Direct. I kind of like that Nintendo goes in that more niche direction and then has some pretty big names throughout. So like their latest Direct to me was really good, but for some it's they just think that the little ports and the remasters aren't that exciting. And I respect that. I get that. But again, it's the conversations about the content shown. With Xbox, it's typically about like what was said, what expectations were set, and how it didn't meet, whether it was high or low. And I think that's a problem in its own right. So,
and to Nintendo's credit, one last point is that we have to celebrate them and give them their roses. Is that I always feel the pacing is very concise. It's bam, 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 bam.
I love it,
and I love it. I love my little music, and it goes to the next one, to the next one. You know,
they've nailed that though. To be honest, no one else will hit that. Xbox won't, PlayStation won't. They have. There is like that feeling of seeing the transition, the slide goes over, and you see the game you've been waiting for in the image, and you're like, "What the what?" It's just masterfully done.
Yes,
they really have to
give Nintendo their role.
There's a reason why they do it for everything. They don't do something like you look at what Xbox does. They have a showcase for fucking everything now. There's a reason why Nintendo, when it's E3, when it's whenever they feel like it, it's a direct. It's always that same presentation style because it works really well. They have no need to change it ever.
Absolutely.
Next on our list, you felt particularly inspired when I brought this one up as a potential point, so I want to dish it right off to you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect Dark and Crystal Dynamics working together. You said this
Yeah.
moved something in you when I brought it up, so let's get into it.
Let's get it. Okay, here's the thing. As I look back on this, I said with a couple of Dukes, we've talked about this subject. It's been a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the announcement, the initiative, how the initiative would work, Crystal Dynamics, what's going on. And we broke it down each way, every way to December. Like we've been breaking this thing down.
Mm-hmm.
But it did spark something because I said to myself, in my opinion, right, I was like, I can't get on Xbox too crazy, you know, because that was when we got into the quadruple A bag. Right,
Yeah.
we got into that bag, and we were like, "Yo, you know, I made some strong points in my own defense. I made some strong points, and I was just like, look, man, I was like, you know, Microsoft themselves never said that. Initiative never said that themselves. They said small, agile, whatever. They set expectation correct, but I gotta defer to Cobra Commander here. Shout out to Colin for thinking Simmons. I listened to his point. You know, sometimes you know what friends say something, and it goes against what you say. But you gotta have that soul searching moment.
Nah.
And I was like, damn, he may be right.
Oh, worst feeling.
Yeah, Colin talked about it, right? And shout out to Dustin, shout out to, you know what I'm saying, Ray Gunn. And they were both like, what? Because Dustin was in the middle. He's like, yeah, I can't go on Microsoft too hard for that because, you know, but then Colin made a point because my argument was, you know, they initially better put that out, and that came from HR, right? HR did that. HR tried to hype up the position and sell it, and you can't really, you know, get at them too much. But then Colin made a good point that I had to do some soul searching, and he said, "Look, at the end of the day, that's still that's your HR. That's still coming from you, so to speak, right? Your grand scheme of the, and the problem is." It was allowed to be run with too long. So if you truly did not feel it was quadruple A, right? They basically they ate off of the cycle of quadruple A without
Until it didn't
nipping
work.
it in the butt,
Yeah.
right? You can't tell me, he made a good point, like that they didn't know people were running around saying articles were made about. When Initiative was first announced, the articles ran with this. The social media, content creators ran with this. So you can't tell me that you didn't see that.
Yeah.
So he's right. There's a part of someone, right, that looked at that, saw that as good, beneficial marketing in a way to not nip it in the bud. Because if you don't believe that, you got to get on that immediately. So yeah, I gotta pull back on that one and say that is a snafu. You can't, if you truly feel the initiative is small, ninja, agile, you want to do something different, you want to outsource, you want to, whatever it is you want to do, be very clear and concise with that. And yeah, I had to think about that one for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that they saw and ran with it, because here's the thing is, up until Crystal Dynamics announced their partnership with the initiative and showcased that, like, hey, they're not as big of a studio as I think most people thought. Then we had a lot of folks coming in going, oh, they've always said they were small and agile. The kind of little bit of Google searching and linking the article saying, like, look, I always knew that. I'm sorry. I am right there with you on one aspect, which is I did not hear a fucking iota about this studio being small and agile. And it was not as in my face as quadruple A. I'm not even talking about from fans, from the press, from media, every conversation point, anytime initiative was brought up. It wasn't this talking point of like, well, you know, I hear a lot of people saying quadruple A, but it's actually small and agile. No one was saying that. No one wanted to stop that roll. And I'm sorry, but if Crystal Dynamics was never announced, they never would have stopped that. I just, you know, for a fact that was the case. And I get it. 2020 hindsight. People will try to tell us it's a backtrack. We're rolling back. No, it's one of those things where I kind of like the way the initiative set up now, knowing the idea of pitching pretty much the framework to bigger studios and having them do the heavy lifting. You can get a lot of great output from that and some cool partnerships that make Xbox bigger. So I love what they're doing there. Absolutely. But the reality is that they didn't stop this. Yes. We've seen time in, time out, developers take to Twitter, they take to social media of any kind. They're like, hey, everybody, quote, tweet the article. This is not what it's about. You can't tell me there's no one within that family
Preach.
that didn't see that and go, oh, I should say something. Like they didn't do anything about it. That's the reality.
point.
And that's fine. I get why they didn't. I get it. It made their studio a little more attractive. It made Xbox sound bigger than maybe they actually were at the time. There's a lot of good stuff about it. It's why they didn't stop it. They're like, well, if we deliver this big game that people really like or this really quality product, we got ourselves a new buzzword for marketing. Now, I mean, again, I know some folks will say you're running off assumptions, but really take a hard look at it.
Yeah.
Tell me the first time, unless you were paying very close attention, by the way. I'm not saying it wasn't news because there were headlines for it. But tell me how often when you heard the initiative brought up as a talking point across podcasts, videos, websites, even your fellow enthusiasts, that someone said, yeah, the small and agile studio, the initiative. No one was saying that.
Yeah.
And Xbox, you brought up a great point through Colin that no one at Xbox was really stopping that. And it wasn't until we really hit the wall there with Crystal Dynamics where you knew for a fact that the miscommunication was there. Why is that? Because a lot of people were baffled. You're like, why are they even in the picture? Once you knew the full picture, by the way, thanks to reporting like through Jeff Grubb, then we understood it, but it was not through Xbox at all. Not that they have to explain everything to us, but you can't tell me that most people had a general understanding of where the initiative was at. I don't agree with that.
Absolutely. No, well said, brother. That's literally it. And again, it just comes down to honesty. It just comes down to that full transparency. And when you allow something to snowball, like, to me, internally, someone looked at it and there was benefit. There was positive benefit initially to let that go, to let that run. It gave initiative a different look in the public eye, like something massive has happened and you benefit from it. So you can't get mad at the community that when the Crystal Dynamics news now comes out, there's a shock. There's a, why is this happening? I thought you guys were at blah, blah, blah. You see? And that's a great point, man.
No, it's not something that I'm too up in arms about because I think the outcome here is actually really positive. I love what's happening. I love what's happening with the initiative now that I know it in full. And some people will just tell me after my spiel, like, you're just out of touch. You weren't paying attention. And I think in a sense, fair play. I guess technically I wasn't if it was in the headlines. But again, we're talking about what a company ran away with and they let it fester. So they sort of made their bed and lied in it.
Absolutely.
All right, next one we got on this list is one that's interesting because it ties back into what we were talking about with Xbox's third-party gameplay showcase, where Gamescom rolls around. Here it is. Aaron Greenberg's just like, look, it's going to be a fun show. We're not doing any big announcements, though, or anything. Everyone's going in like, okay, probably a Game Pass announcement or two. And you're like, why did this thing even exist? Not only that, but the clear timing of it all, everyone knew. And we were right, by the way, because it was revealed the next day. Everyone knew Halo had to be here. Halo had to be the star. And Halo wasn't there. And I'm not saying, once again, because we were just talking about the spoiling of the magic, the allure of it all. That was done through Greenberg's tweet. But, a lot of people were still thinking to themselves, like, at least Halo will be here. Like, that's such an obvious one amongst other games from Xbox. And they all moved over to Jeff Keighley's stage. And it begged the question of maybe this wouldn't filter right into miscommunication entirely.
Right.
But a question of existence, right? We talked about the magic, the allure of their showcases when PlayStation or Nintendo roll around. And I love that Xbox loves announcing things. Number one, it makes making content a lot easier. Yes. I'll be completely honest. I'll be totally transparent on that because they're always doing something. So it's fun to talk about them. But the reality is I don't want to always talk about them if what they're going to do is going to disappoint me.
Right.
And in the case of, I think for a lot of people, Tokyo Game Show, and mostly here for this topic, Gamescom, is we have a situation where you set expectations and it's like this thing didn't need to exist. You had your history lesson on trebuchets. Like what happens here is a lot of companies are, I think, transitioning into a phase of if you're not spending money, we're not wasting your time. But they need to realize that time is a currency too that can be spent, and that wasting people's time on bogus showcases will not lose fanship, but lose respect, lose authority in the conversation, because it's like if I were running a showcase, my goal at whatever company I'm working at would be to avoid reading as many tweets as possible of, I'll catch the highlights after. You want people to
good
want to
point.
sit down.
Good point.
And
Good
I got to
point.
say, for Xbox dude, we didn't even write this one down, but the Twitch at ID at Xbox gaming showcases plus this, you're like, what is happening with your showcases? Like they have lost the meaning of what a showcase is. It used to be this big deal. Yes, here we go. Lots of games, lots of fun, excitement. And I think Xbox, because they're working with so many people, yeah, they're always going to have a ton of things to announce where more showcases will be justified. But when you look at something like Gamescom in particular, which is this snooze fest, again, it begs the question, why? What are we doing? Why did you communicate it this way, where it's a showcase, not a update show or something along those lines? You made it much more bombastic than it actually was by name alone.
I mean, this one, we got to include it because, first of all, I want to be respectful in the fact that, again, shout out to Kate Yeager, shout out to Paris. You know, I love them, right? And, you know, when Paris comes out, I get excited. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Liv. We got to get him in the realm of the Dukes for sure. The thing is, when I looked at the Microsoft Bethesda showcase, right? The initial one, and they were like, yo, after another, we gonna have a supplement show, right? To me, that sets expectation, right?
Yes.
Don't come in there thinking that you just gonna get what you got with Starfield, and then this is like anything else we want to talk about. And they said we're gonna go in depth with certain things, give things a little bit more life there. Expectation beautifully set, right? I did not come into that one with Paris thinking, yo, mad bombastic other news is gonna happen. This is just, you know, they set expectations right. This one, you were right, Maddie, because they say, okay, Gamescom, right? You and I both know the game we are waiting to see underneath your banner, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
that was a no-doubter, by the way. That's not even 2020 hindsight. That's a no-doubter.
That's a no-doubt. Everyone's coming in there looking for that Halo Infinite, especially after what happened, you know, prior. So my whole thing is, you know, hindsight 2020, we do understand, like if I look at it in a vacuum from a business, yes, I understand why you didn't show it as a business, you know, because we know Jeff Keighley's platform is what it is, right?
Yeah.
We you know, the business guy, we know that. We know why you did it. But it still doesn't negate tuning into that show. And not only were the infamous trebuchets, this turned into the History Channel at one point. That was not game. And it brought a dark feeling of the inside of Xbox era.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the inside of Xbox era from, you know, and during the Xbox One. And it's just like, bro, like, I don't know what the disconnect is. Or is it, because clearly that show's not for me, right? That show to me, I don't know if it's you're just marketing products or you got deals or things that you got to do. You know, I don't know what that is, but to call it the game showcase or we're going to showcase a lot of stuff, it just felt weird. And then to make it worse, Maddie, I know I'm going hard on Age Empires, but it's just that you don't show the game. You don't really, bro. You broke down the history of trebuchets. I got every historical lesson and video on site. And wow, I gotta go to Jeff Keighley's show to see the gameplay of Age of Empires, and I don't even see. And you don't even. I don't even know if it would have been acceptable. Let me ask you this. Let me throw it back to you.
Sure.
With Halo Infinite, because I feel that was the worst offense, right? About that.
I would agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. How would you have felt if they would have said, hey, guys, no Halo, right? But hey, guys, if you're looking for Halo, you know, tune in tomorrow at the next day. Would that have been acceptable to do? Or you, in your opinion, you go, no, even that's not acceptable. They need to show it on their own stage. Like, where are you at in the grand scope of things with Halo Infinite and Gamescom?
I think what they did was just, I'll just say it flat out. I think what they did was really fucking dumb. Like, I just think their mishandling of that show was really, I don't want to say telling, but it looked very clueless to me.
Okay.
Because that is right now. This may change in the future, but right now, Halo's your big game. It's your flagship IP. It's your most defining game, I think, of the year. And while Forza Horizon 5 came out and lit it up with great previews, didn't matter. It just, I don't know how to say it. People expected it. People are
Yeah.
not sure if Halo's going to nail it. You need to
Good
show
point.
it on your stage. It is your game. To me, handing it off to Jeff Keighley was just weird because, again, it goes back to one of my original points I just made a couple minutes ago. You're not valuing customers' time. It's a big thing that, look, I know there's a difference between my YouTube videos and a full-on Xbox showcase, but it's just something that even I have at my core. It's like, I don't want to waste your time. I want to make sure every minute you're listening to this show or you're listening to my videos or whatever you're spending with my content, I'm treating your time like a luxury. Or when you tune in, those 10, 15 minutes, or in our case, a couple hours, is spent well and it's as fruitful. And I don't think Xbox was keeping that energy with their audience with that showcase.
Okay.
And obviously we saw that before with the third party gameplay showcase and to some extent TGS, where it's like you're not respecting people's time.
Okay.
I think with Halo, though, is a little bit more egregious because there wasn't a particular expectation set, but with the clock ticking and with very minimal shows to go, we can protect Xbox all we want, but general industry knowledge would suggest this is where things got to happen with timing, getting the word out, just everything suggests this is where it's going to be. It's got to be here. And when their show wrapped up and you're sitting there going, that was something. What exactly happened here?
Yeah.
And then you see they reserved everything for the next showcase. Why did it exist in the first place? So with Halo, it was particularly bothersome to me. And it still does, because at the end of the day, yeah, the flights have been excellent. Love what I'm playing at Halo. I still, by the way, that game has had a lasting impact. I still talk about how good that felt.
Oh, yeah.
How I cannot wait to get my hands on it. So this is not like we've pulled out of the flight and suddenly it's negative. It's like, no, it's just their way of handling stuff like that gets me worried for, it's not just Halo. I get worried for Starfield. Because I've said before, this may seem like a leap, but it is not. When was the last time Todd Howard revealed a game and he wasn't on stage for half an hour, right?
Good point.
And now what are you going to do when Todd wants his half hour, plus you want to show off at this coming E3, Avowed, Hellblade, what else would be coming? Contraband, list goes on. And you're still going to find a way to fit Todd Howard in, or are you just going to have him do, what was it, the Telegraph articles, like, and that's how we're gonna show actual bits of concept art. They're the way they're handling it, it's spreading beyond that. Because, for example, Starfield, people thought the initial trailer was really underwhelming, and it wasn't until people found the write-ups from Bethesda, the concept art trailers to get an idea of what the world of Starfield looked like. It wasn't until then that people actually got excited, and it's like, why wasn't that a part of your show? And it's why that's where the Forza slander began, right? So it's sorry, I'm rambled at this point.
No.
But it all chains together to me. And it's like, yes, it is just a one instance with Halo, but it can carry into other games, which I think we're going to see with Starfield. I feel pretty sure about that, unless they do something separate, which is my other prediction, like a 30-minute Starfield event.
I think you're touching on so much stuff, Matty. You got me going, bro. Like, you got me like. These are those soul-searching moments, right? And for me, I feel they're excellent when it comes to hardware. When it comes to showcasing a feature, a console, no one does it better. In my opinion, that Series X came out, I was like, good Lord, and velocity architecture and this and that. They gave it to Digital Foundry, the full transparency, gave it to Austin Evans, shout out to Jimmy Champagne, all of them, right? Fire.
Yeah.
But the elephant in the room might be the way they showcase their own games.
Isn't that weird to think about?
Isn't that weird, right? It feels like there's always something off, or you didn't show it right, or it just feels that way, right?
Yeah.
Now, to your point, I want to play devil's advocate on the Halo Infinite thing. I just want to see how you feel about it. I want to push some things back your way. You're right. This is your show, right? You expectations high. It should be on your stage, right? Now, these are some things I have heard and I want to get again. We're gonna go corporate for a little bit, but I want to know.
My suit on.
Oh, put your suit on. I love when the Maddie plays
Yeah,
video with the
yeah,
suit.
yeah.
I love
Little
Maddie
Star
playing
Wars
video with the
suit.
suit and the briefcase.
Yeah,
I had to
absolutely.
shout you out. I love those. Anyway, the thing is, we do know Jeff Keighley's thing is the biggest. We have to admit, it's the biggest
Oh,
thing, right?
100%. Yep.
We do know Halo is free to play,
Mhm.
right? And we do know they want to get it to more audience. There's a part of me that does understand the decision, right? And it's like, let's be honest, they are second place, third place, if you want to say, right?
Yeah.
Behind Switch. We all ignore Switch, like Switch ain't out here beating everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Switch is out here, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, Switch is okay. So, what do you say? Like, let's say corporate pulls Maddie to the side, says, "Hey, Maddie, look, I hear you, but what? We had to do it because look, Jeff's the biggest thing in town. We need the eyes. If we would have done it on ours,
Mhm.
it may not hit. We need a new generation that don't." Because these are, listen, this is a serious debate that has been going on in the community about this. So I just want to I never talked to you about and they say, hey, man, we had to do it, because we need the Nintendo fan or the Sony fan or the person that's young that won't even know what Halo is to know what Halo is. Does that lessen the blow for you? Or you're like, nah, because Addict, got to shout him out. He's like, well, you don't hear other people building up other people's platforms. Like if you want your platform to be the
Right.
platform, it's a tough one. So where do you? I know you
Yeah.
made your initial thing that needs to be better. Probably should have been there. But with that information, if let's just say that is the internal thought process, does that change you a little bit, or are you still on
I
your square?
I totally get why they do that, by the way.
Okay.
Jeff Keighley's platform's huge, and with a free-to-play game especially, yeah, let's get more eyes on it.
Mhm.
With that said, brings it right back to
Let's go.
why did it exist in the first place? Because you have diluted a big sticking point here for this show has been their dilution, if you will. I don't know if that's actually a word. They have diluted showcases for themselves.
Okay.
So when it comes around, it's that mixture of like, okay, we just had E3. They had a showcase for Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show. Like they've had 3 and 4 months.
Yeah, they have a lot.
And if you want to include also, by the way, the follow-up one, that's 4 and 4 months.
Yeah, that's good.
So they do it a lot. And again, I would have pulled out and been like, does this show need to exist at all? And I understand, by the way, the notion of let's give people work. Let's provide for them, give them stuff to do, pay them, all that stuff. I'm sure that that's a part of it. You don't want to leave people without a job. So I love that they want to show things, but when it comes to Halo, and if you see Jeff is there, and he clearly was going to be there for a while, like opening night live, that's his thing. He's been doing it. It was not a surprise. Not like, oops, no, he's going to be there. What are you doing then, man?
Yeah.
Just go beef up his show. But I think Attic makes a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
I am of the mindset that you got to drag people to your platform. And it's unfortunately not this easy on stuff like YouTube where, make something good or attractive and people will come watch. No, there are plenty of great content creators who just do awesome things and no one shows up.
Right.
But with brands and games, people are going to show up in spades. And I think that is something that's a chance Xbox should have taken. The conversation for Halo Infinite when the flight came out dominated social media. Nothing had room to breathe. And I think anytime they show something with Halo, there's no room to breathe. So please continue to show it at your own stuff. And if you're not going to, and you're going to put a showcase, you're right there, right next to them.
Yeah.
Make it worth it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. And I understand their logic, right? A lot of people have fought me on the logic of like, well, why would they show it at their showcase when Jeff's right there? I'm like, then why did it exist? It's all there is to it. And I don't know how else to put it because it sounds cool, but it's like, why else did it exist?
Good point. No, you sold me. You sold me. I think you're right. I've come full circle on it too. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because you're right. I just can't. It can't even be said any better than what you just said. It can't even be better said.
I appreciate that. Let's hope the audience agrees.
Yeah.
As we transition to another one. This one's another big snafu. Games with gold pricing. Oh, man. I don't know if we're going to get any disagreements on this one. We should put this one in the front.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, I mean, don't know what they were thinking with that one. Very left field. I remember, when the announcement happened. And I mean, shout out to the community, though, right? Shout out to the community like, yo, fam, this ain't it. Like the community pushed back. And this is one of those instances where I was proud of the community. They were like, this is not a go. This is unacceptable. And, for me, again, from the business side, I understand why they attempted it. I understand why they thought, we all know the reality is they want to get everybody on Game Pass. They probably want to transition away from that model. And there's still people that stuck on that model. But, the way it was presented, the pricing, it was very aggressively egregious.
Yes. Yeah.
It was just that. And it was a misfire. It was a not reading the room moment. And they paid for it. Thankfully, they did the right thing. They retracted. And, what I remember this day was like, we missed the mark. We apologize. It was a good, I give them credit on the statement as to the apology, hey, but again, it just was a misfire. And these are those moments. I will say this, even though this was a snafu, I was so proud of the community to say, no, Xbox, that ain't it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I agree entirely. I thought this Games with Gold thing was kind of hilarious because it's so irrelevant that even us as a Xbox show don't really cover the games added to it unless they're decent, because typically they're adding crap to it. It's interesting too, because this could feed off a bit of the rumor, which started with Jeff Grubb, which he's still very adamant that, and he said even on our show, he's like, you can hold me to it. He's like, one day they're going to make it free. So when they added to it, I think that exacerbated some of the reaction that was there, because people were expecting like whenever it changes, it's going to go down, not up. And it only goes up. And again, I don't know what they were thinking on this one. This was just clearly, to me, call it a cyberpunk move. Look, I like cyberpunk.
Good point.
I like cyberpunk, but we saw CD Projekt Red reach, out of desperation. And you know what? I almost get that from CD Projekt Red. These independent companies, not owned by anyone. Yeah, they have shareholders at the board and whatnot, but not owned like a Microsoft, which is this $1 trillion company. Yeah. And you're sitting there going, wow, you guys are reaching for like $5 extra for me right now. You really need it that bad.
No.
Your gaming division has risen so high. It's doing the best it's done. And you need a couple of bucks from me now. Like, really, man? If you're going to raise anything, I got to be honest.
Let's go.
Raise Game Pass.
I mean,
I don't want that.
We don't want that, but I think at some point it's going to go up. I agree.
Yeah.
I think at some point, I'm convinced that, if their goal is what is it, every quarter to build it, and then it gets into that cadence, at some point this is going to go. It reminds me of Netflix. When Netflix started popping, you got that notification at one point. Hey, fam, price going up at this point. This going to be the new,
Absolutely. And I wouldn't blame them if they keep adding these big games. And I'm talking about heavy investing. If you really see them start like getting these big day one drops on top of their exclusives, by all means, jump that price up, because I get it. Your service is providing value. But with Xbox Live Gold, it's becoming more and more irrelevant. Same thing with PS Plus, to pay to play online. Yeah. No one wants to do that anymore. You got Steam, you download it for free. You can play, no problem. People like to save that money. The freebies you're giving away suck. And now with Xbox Game Pass existing, it's like, why do I want your freebies? Right? I don't need them. You're constantly adding to a library that's much more meaningful.
Yes.
So when you saw them jump that price up, I mean, this might be the worst miscommunication of all, because it's like, do you even know what you're doing right now? You know, what matters to your customer, what clearly matters to you, by the way, because when they announce things, they announce like it's coming to Game Pass, like it's a platform, like it's a console, because it will almost function like that when it's an app on your TV, when it's on a dongle, like when it's maybe on a portable device beyond your phones, like that's a platform to them. So it's like, if that's your platform, why are you changing the price of gold? Why does this type of stuff matter to them?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And to me, you know what? To me, all this screams of is when they're too big and everything is way too compartmentalized, and no one is communicating as a whole, as a unified group, because it just seems like one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. And when I see with this particular one, to me, these are the suits that made that decision. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, they look at it like, look, we got to get these guys off, right? We got to get them off Games of Gold. Game Pass is to play. And someone said, all right, well, if we raise it, Game Pass ultimately becomes the better deal. And that'll get them off. And it was just, again, it was a misread of the room. And again, that's why they got that. That seems to be the issue here. It just feels like maybe they're just too big. And there's just too many chefs in the kitchen, and no one's centralizing this and saying, hey, guys, this is not going to play well, and this is why. This is the feedback we're getting from the community on other things and so on and so forth. And that's what it is. And like Grubb said, the expectation, if you read the room, the expectation is, no, we're going to go free to play and get rid of this barrier and not raise the price of this thing, right? That was the expectation. So again, miscommunication, the internal whatever is going on, and these are things that they need to address.
Absolutely, and that one we could sit on all day, but I think it almost really speaks for itself given the outrage.
Absolutely.
Last one we'll talk about. We saved it for last because we realized that it would effectively be beating a dead horse at this point. But it definitely needs to be addressed in what is a series of miscommunications. Now, all these really came from the, we'll say, Xbox Series era. But we got the Xbox One era to talk about, just in general. It was really where the beginning of the end, if you will. People signed them off talking about the TV, the DVR.
This is how you trade games.
Yeah, the no physical.
That was the death blow. That was a death blow right there.
Yeah, that video still is always a good one to go back to. PlayStation saying how to play physical games or how to share games on PS4, and he just hands them a disc like Shuhei Yoshida, Adam Boyes. I'm like, wow. They wanted they wanted the actual smoke with that one. They did not care.
I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember what I was doing. I remember every aspect of that day. And the thing,
scarred on his heart.
Bro, I'm scarred. Like, I admit, listen, I make no qualms about it. I play everything, but yeah, I do have a preference for Xbox. I never not admitted it, But I remember it was a dark day. And I remember how E3s go. Here's the thing. E3 traditionally, back in the day, before Microsoft is now associated with Sunday, E3 was like that Monday, and it was like two big shows. Microsoft always set it off first.
Yeah.
That's how it went. And then Sony would go behind, usually in the evening, I guess, you got the Japanese audience, the time zone or whatever. And I'll never forget, Microsoft does this show, TV, very confusing distribution on digital games, family plan. We don't know exactly how it works. Online only. The fear mongering starts. Connect. Is it watching me? Is it not watching me? What's going on? It was, bro. It was all over the place. The people were confused. People left that thing. Now, what's crazy is the games they show are actually not that bad, but the actual messaging from TV, online only, DRM, and Connect was so muddled, it became fear, and people were pushing back. I don't know if I want this future that you guys are trying to push. Then the day goes on, and I will never forget. And I got to give Sony a little smoke, though, right quick. Because the story did come out, and what me and King remember this. Sony's show was supposed to go at a specific time that year. And they made an announcement, man. They were like, we're delayed. We're going to do it at this time, whether it be an hour later, whatever it was. Right. I remember it's like, yes. And now it has come out that once they saw the snafu, was like, yo, can we because they had DRM too. Let's put this out there. PS4 had DRM too. They were doing the same thing, but they saw the negative reaction that Microsoft got. And they say, yo, how long would it take to pull that joint out? Can we get the DRM? Can we get okay? And we can bring it down 100. Cool.
Yeah.
Delay the show. So they delayed it for an hour. Whatever. Bro, this is facts. Like, this has come out now because I always thought it was
I
strange.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yes, people get Sony off the hook on this, but again, got to give them credit. Strategic. This is
no, they
war.
were smart. They made their console way more appealing.
This is war.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate counter blow. Got rid of the D. Act like they were the saints in all of this. Oh no, we don't do that. Oh, you want to trade your games? We do it like this.
Yeah. Oh,
Death
man.
blow. So at the end of the day, you know, what I look at it is Microsoft's digital future, which ended up being the future that we are now. Let's be real. They were just a little too aggressively ahead with it. And the TV thing definitely pissed me off. But the problem, I do remember that the main communication was just like, yo, I remember people coming up to me like, yo, so I can't go to GameStop anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's supposed to happen? Do I have to keep my thing always online? I can't play the game. Like,
were there,
remember?
no, I was going to say, were there like brands going against Xbox at that time, if I remember correctly? Because I think I remember like GameStop saying something about physical games. Like, you had the industry moving away from Xbox and towards PlayStation entirely.
That was the generation not to lose, because remember, coming into that gen, the 360 was dominant. Now, yes, the PS3 caught up at the end globally, but in the States, the 360 was that wave. And the way they were marketing, remember, a lot of third party were pushing into Xbox One as if they were going to be the de facto for the gen, as if they were going to be the leader. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people all the time with the Xbox, that was the generation not to lose, because now we're in a situation where we are now, where people were like, it was a no brainer. It was Sony PS4 was cheaper, more powerful, no DRM, none of that TV, just games, the traditional hardcore gamers console. Even just price alone. Yeah, why would you get an Xbox One unless you truly are an Xbox fan? To me, I saw people who were hardcore 360 fans were like, nah, bro. I go with that Sony, bro. I'm sorry. I see people leave me. They sending me apologies like, I'm sorry, Carl.
Yeah.
You know, I love it, bro. Nah, that's Sony. What could I say?
Right.
You couldn't say anything. It was totally the truth. And to me, it's been catch up ever since. It's been slowly, brick by brick. And thank God they got Phil Spencer. They got just to set the thing slowly, removing the Connect, changing the TV aspect, moving things out, making it a games console, focus on it. Years and years. This scarred a generation.
Yeah. Unforgettable.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I talked a lot.
No, you are good. You were.
It just took me to a dark. Bro.
Nah, it was tough. It was tough. I was a day one adopter of the Xbox One. I got my PS4 late because I thought to myself, yeah, I don't like what Xbox is doing, but I'm big on games, and I thought the launch games for Xbox One were fucking amazing. Yes. I loved Rise. We talk about Rise a lot on here.
Best 900p game.
Absolutely. You got to throw in Dead Rising 3 in there. I was like, dude, co-op day one? Yes. Are you kidding me? Yes. That was an easy buy for me. Killer Instinct is still, to me, one of the best launch games ever.
Yes. Was Forza at launch too? Wasn't there a Forza at launch of it? Oh, no.
Probably. I think there was I don't like Forza, so.
I know you're the Forza hater, but I'm saying, just the fact that they had it, right? Around there, Dead Rising 3. The games you talk about are the real games.
Right. And disrespect to PlayStation, but they had Knack. Killzone, Shadow. Not even close. It just, to me, it wasn't as appealing. And even when I got my PS4 later, I think I got around the time, I got a little bit before Infamous Second Son, because I was getting it for that, because I loved Infamous. And I thought, by the way, Second Son was immensely disappointing, personally. Yes. And so when I got that, and I backtracked to some of their launch games, I'm like, this sucks right now.
Yeah, I didn't like PS4.
And then you get
collected dust for a little bit.
I thought Xbox was doing really well on the software front, but there was so much that was wrong with that system and the way it was announced and the way it was handled. And really my focus with this generation, my defining moment, if you will, is Scalebound. I am a huge, as you are, Platinum Games fan. They are one of my favorites. I was a slow grower of their games. I loved Bayonetta. Didn't think much of it. Then they continued to deliver. I went through a really dark time, though, where they were doing Nickelodeon spin-off games. And they go, this guy Xbox looks pretty nice. They got a lot of money. We could work on something big together, get that financial security, and Xbox almost fucking kills them.
Yes.
And I remember that being the moment where I was starting to fall off the Xbox train a little bit because I was thinking to myself, you guys are like, I think that's something I struggle to forget more than anything is the announcement of a cool looking game that's out there on the web. It was publicly marketed and it will never happen now.
No, that hurt. That one dug deep because, like I said, me and you know how much me and you love me some plat. It just was like, yo, Platinum's gonna have a budget. They're gonna do something special, and it looked cool. It looked cool.
Bro. Oh my
we
god.
didn't know what exactly everything was, but I remember the trailer. He put on the headphones. He starts rocking the dragon. I'm like, okay, it's Platinum. It's over the top. It's bombastic. This is what they need. It's a deficiency, right? That they need. It's a hashtag just one at the time.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was, yo, this is going to be something. And, it's sad that didn't work. I will say this in defense of them in this one is that, again, I've heard things internally and I am one of the things I am most proud of lordsofgaming.net. Shout out to my boy Gene. Shout out to my boy Hector. They know who they are. You know what I'm saying? These are my writers. One of the things I was very proud to get an interview with Kami-san. And like that's like that thing did no view. It hurt my heart. It didn't really do any views. But like, bro, that was the one I was like, bro, we had to translate it in Japanese, whatever. And what's funny is I was scared to ask them that. So I didn't bring up the Scalebound thing. Because at this point, this is years later. They're all Wonderful 101. They're promoting this. I shouted out Astral Chain and some other stuff. But one thing I will say is this. I'm bringing this full circle to say this. Is that Kamiya-san has been known to be about the smoke. He don't bite his tongue. He don't care who you are. If he's infamously known on Twitter as the Block King, if you come out your face, even talk crazy, I think he don't even like if somebody talk English. He got weird rules. Kami-san don't play. He is respected, and he will get you out of here. He will be disrespectful to corporations. He never said one bad thing about Xbox. So
very telling. Yeah.
To me, that's why I gotta defend them a little bit here. Only on this part is that for that man to be humble and say, thank you for Microsoft for giving us the opportunity. Hey, we would always love to work in the future. The vibe I got no official confirmation. I'm just speculating from things I hear here and there, is that maybe they were doing a little bit too much as far as projects and spreading themselves thin. And again, I'm speculating. I have no information. Maybe Daddy filling the tea and came over to, hey, what's going on? Let's do a little status check in the building. Hey, let's see the status of it. Maybe things weren't to their liking, and they're like, yo, we paying these dudes how much? And and, because for Platinum not to push back, especially Kamiya, he don't bite his tongue for nobody, Maddie. That man is fearless. For him to be the most
humble, man.
Oh, he blocked you?
Oh, yeah. He announced Astral Chain, or he teased it, and I was like, yo, let's go. And he blocked me. I was like,
yeah, he's got weird rules. Like, don't talk to him in English. Like, my greatest accomplishment, I probably never said this, is that he retweeted our article. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, oh my God, like he didn't attack. I was scared to even tweet it. That's how crazy Kamiya is with his rule set. So I know there's many people who have been victim of this block, and they tell me all the time. But again, I just say in that respect that I do feel they took responsibility on this mess up. So I'll pass it. But I want to transition to one part of that Xbox One era that I forgot. And we can't get them off the hook for this one.
Uh-oh.
The infamous, shout out to one of the, I ain't gonna say it, but one of the least revered Xbox leaders. The Don Matrick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember him?
That was I was gonna say that was a dark time, and I wasn't even like a hardcore Xbox boy at that point. Like that was something else.
So the whole online thing's going on. Press Jeff Keighley goes up to him. Look, man, you guys are getting a lot of pushback. Xbox One online only. But you know what? The Don said. You know what magical line he felt was perfect timing for this? Hey. If you don't like online, it's perfectly okay, guys. We got a system for you. That man said you could go buy the 360 if you want to stay low. Bro, that was so cold-blooded disrespectful. What was he thinking? The Don, what were you doing? You know that meme? Oh no, baby. Oh no, what are we doing? Not like this.
About
Not,
that.
remember that one? Not like you don't tell a generation of gamers, oh, you don't like that?
Yeah, you don't like
we
the
got
new
this
thing?
old system you can
Yeah,
stay
that's
with, bro.
No, yeah, I forgot about that. That was a really I guarantee that was the moment they went, he's out. Like he's got to go. Like that was enough, right? Like that Xbox was like looking for their out. That was the moment he showed his true colors, and they're like, "Yep, get him the fuck out of here. He's gonna kill us." Yeah,
one of the greatest hits from the Dawn. Yo, I still see the beat. Yo, I hate to personalize people. No, God bless. Hope he's doing well. You know what? But one of the famous memes. So what's that? I mean, there's like a meme of Don Matrick, right? And behind him, it's like death, destruction, rubble, burnt buildings, charred ashes, and it says Xbox One. And he got his hand out. Like this is what I did. Like I know it's wrong to pin that all on him, but it is the funniest meme I've ever seen. Bro, like it's like, and he goes, "My work here is done."
Yeah. Like I know you said it's not fair to pin it on him, but in a manner of speaking, like, we can't pin a lot. Well, there's a lot of teams that surround him. Like we pin Phil Spencer as like a guy who sort of spearheaded the recovery of Xbox.
That's the savior. Yeah.
I would say Don Matrick can take the fall for the downfall of Xbox after a really strong gen, right? Like you could, I mean, there's no coincidence you have Peter Moore in there for the 360 and how good it was.
Iconic.
Don Matrick steps in. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Then Phil Spencer steps in. And we recover. We're on our feet now. I think that it's, yes, the teams do hard work, but you need a leader that can see the chessboard and lay the pieces out properly and get you to victory. And that's what two of them did. But you can tell when it was at its worst, one of them could not either find their way out of it or understand how to, like, what was needed now. Like, I feel probably what happened was, my guess with Xbox One is he's probably shown some analytics of like, here's where the industry's trending. Years will be all digital, yada, 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 which, by the way, ended up not happening. We're still enjoying our physical games. Thank you very much. And he's probably like, well, people will fight back, but they'll eventually accept. Nope. And I think that's what happened is that data can be dangerous when you really think about it. I guarantee that's what happened.
Yeah. What it is it's, I think the lesson they learned is a lot of times Xbox is forward thinking and the industry goes in that direction for most part. But I think what the lesson they learned is you don't make it an exclusive ad. It was a forced transition. Like this is happening. And I think they were so shocked to realize the pushback with the physical media. And I think now, like if you look at like an xCloud or stuff, you notice they use keywords now. Hey, this is an option. This is a supplement. Like we understand that. Like they have learned that. And again, I always say, and that's why we give Phil his roses. Like thank God for Phil Spencer because again, he's a gamer. He understood one of the greatest things he did when he started. He went to all the teams. He said it. Morale was low after the Xbox One era. And hey, what can we do? Each specific department going through the run, changing this thing up, then the commitment again. Because remember, during that time, they were very second party deal heavy where they didn't own the IPs. They just threw money at stuff. It's a culture change and they are turning it around. And I want to give them a little credit as far as, I know this is about miscommunication, this one, but I do want to give them credit for the series era as far as at least we can say they've improved in transparency. I want to give them that. But, it's still a long way to go. This is still a process. There's still, there's still things, we just saw last Sunday. That's that kind of thing. But, I will say it's not that Xbox One era anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we still got to iron out the kinks. But yeah, some fun stuff, man. Fun stuff.
Yeah. And as of this moment in time, just so that people know when we record this episode, that Xbox Game Studios publishing account's still silent. And it's about to hit 3 p.m. So I don't think anything's happening today.
Someone jumped the gun too early. That's what it is.
So we'll see. But that's all we've got for our list of Xbox miscommunications. I think there was a lot to iron out there that highlights. There's been a consistency here. It's not every day.
Yeah.
And none of these may not seem like a big deal, but I think combined, there's something definitely worth speaking on here. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing what your thoughts are on Xbox's ability to communicate, how they can improve things like their showcase, and again, if you're in agreement with us or not. So, Cog, any closing thoughts here for this wonderful episode of DDU?
Yeah, I love this. Listen, man, you know us. One thing I love about the Dukes, what we do, and again, great. First of all, let me get a young beast his props right now. This is a great topic, brother. I'm so glad you did it because you gotta have those heart-to-heart talks with family, right? It's like sometimes you gotta have them, we like you, but you gotta have them heart-to-heart talks. And it's just from a place of love. We want you to
Of
improve.
course.
You know what I'm saying? This ain't, just trying to bash for the sake of bashing. This is about making things
Yeah.
better.
Especially when it's our patron show. Like, we gain nothing from
Exactly. Like
bashing.
literally. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, these are discussions I really like having because you really got to soul search. You got to dig deep. You got to, even if you like something kind of thing. And it's important. And one thing I will say is that, from what I'm hearing now, I will say this, they are truly listening this generation.
Yes.
I've been around a long time and I've got firsthand accounts. They are listening and they are taking this very serious. And you just want this to improve. So shout out to them. Just continuing to improve. We still got a long way to go. And yeah, this is a dope episode, man. So shout out to you for putting it together. Great topics, great inflection points.
Yeah.
Hilarious. This took me back a couple places.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And we hope all of you enjoyed, and we're looking forward to reading your thoughts down below. So until next time, we'll catch you in episode 39 of Defining Duke Ultimate. Take good care of yourselves, and peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.